How's it hanging, YouTube? This is King of Feral Imps, and welcome to Spooktober. And of course, today, I don't know if I mentioned it elsewhere, but I mentioned vampires. I'm going to go ahead and profile them. This isn't actually my deck, this is my friend's deck, Pyrobat. If you've seen maybe a few videos, he might be in there. I did duel against him once with this vampire deck. It was the Fluffles versus this. So it was Team Edward, Team Jacob. Boo. Twilight joke. Anyway, like I said, this isn't my deck. This is his deck, but I'm borrowing it to profile, and I did kind of help beef it up a bit. And so anyway, what you're about to see is a combination of both of us, so let's get started. First up for the monsters is triple Vampire Sorcerer. Now this is your main little guy. Most of the vampire monsters are level 5 and level 6, and then like 1-7, but this is the mini guy, the level 4. He's stored in the main one. When it's destroyed, like in your possession, you get to search a vampire card. Either, a monster or a spell or trap. And then, of course, when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it, and then you can normal summon vampires for without tributing. So that's pretty good. This is just sort of the bit of the integral one meant for your to set up all your stuff. He is a little guy, thankfully, so of course he's level 4, and so you can easily normal summon or set him should you want to. Then is 3 of the that didn't get straight Vampire Duke. This is probably one of the other best ones. It's level 5. Dark Zombie, 2000 beater. It's got the effect that when it is normal summoned, you can go ahead and special summon a vampire from your graveyard. And then he's got a once per turn effect that you can pretty much pick one type of card, spell, monster, or trap from your opponent's deck, and then you can send it to the graveyard. So it helps because you do play because the way vampires work, that's basically what they want to do. They want to disrupt your opponent's deck and send stuff from their deck to the graveyard. Then is 2 of the Vampire Shadow. Now when this guy is normal summoned, you can special summon a vampire from your hand or deck, and that's pretty much the basic effect, but he's the good one because you normal summon this, and then you can bring out your Duke, and then Duke can ditch a card and then from your opponent's deck, and then your other shenanigans with Kingdom go off, and then you have these 2 level 5 dark monsters you can then Xyz with. They can only be used for the Xyz summon of a dark monster. So it's mostly just going to be Bram, but the main boss monster. But it does help. He can't attack the turn he activates his effect. Only the other monster can. But it does help, even if you just want to get like some big stuff on the field. He helps with it. Then is the 1 Vampire Lord. This is pretty much the OG vampire monster. His effect is that when he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can then pick one card, spell, monster, trap, and then send it to the graveyard. He just helps. He's sort of the mini one, but he is at least level 5 in Dark and Zombie, so he does fit with a lot of the things. He does also have the effect that if it's destroyed in your possession, he comes back during the next standby phase, so it just helps for some great reoccursion. Then is 1 Vampire Grace. She's got a great-ish effect, but sort of mediocre. While she's in the graveyard, and a level 5 or higher Dark Zombie monster, basically a vampire, is summoned, you can pay 2,000 life points and then special summon her from the grave, and then she's got the once per turn ignition effect of sending 1 card from your opponent's deck of your choice to the graveyard. And then last vampire is the 1 Vampire Vamp. I've seen some builds play some different ones, play some more, but we're kind of happy with just 1. She's a level 7, so it's going to require 2 tributes unless you special summon her or get off Sorcerer's effect. Her effect is that when she or another vampire monster is normal summoned, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls that has more attack than her, and then equip it to her. So it pretty much, there's my phone, so it pretty much just takes your opponent's monsters, and then she's got a great additional effect that when she's destroyed and sent to the graveyard while equipped with a monster, you can just special summon her back like in defense position, something like that. And so it just has a great, and then since she's back on the field, you can go ahead and normal summon another vampire and then get the effect off. So it just helps with that. That's it for the vampires. Next up is just generic zombie support and 3 Mizuki. Mizuki's just the boss because while it's in the graveyard, banish it and special summon another zombie from the graveyard. So it just helps with all your vampire stuff because oftentimes you will end up having to send them to the graveyard, and then this just helps with either creating more tribute fodder to normal summon them, or to bring them back. Say like one of them, something happens and you can't exactly bring it back in the normal way that it would. he just helps. Then is Z2 Goblin Zombie. Goblin Zombie helps with your he just helps with more setting up because he's got like a great little mini disruption effect. When it inflicts damage to your opponent, they send they send one card from their hand to the graveyard, and then he also helps with when he's destroyed by battle, you can search for a zombie. So he just helps with some more setting up. He's just a great little floater guy. And then speaking of floaters, it's just 2 Pyramid Turtle. This is basically your Mystic Tomato, but only for zombies. And with 2,000 or less defense, it doesn't go by attack, so you can pretty much just bring out like all these guys and whatnot, and then just go from there. This one is so amazing. The only thing is just making sure that it gets destroyed by battle and not by anything else. And that's it for monsters. Now for the spells, it's just 1 Soul Charge, because, I mean, even though we play a lot of Recursion, Soul Charge just helps and can win games. 1 Book of Moon, 1 Foolish Burial to ditch some stuff like your Mizuki or other things, and then 1 Allure of Darkness, because pretty much everything is dark, and if it helps you dig deeper into your deck, you don't really mind banishing it. All of these are good. Book of Moon is a great tech card, especially in this, because we are playing destruction effects. So you can often chain this to your destruction effect to like something that can't be destroyed, or has something that if it's that it can't be destroyed while face up. This helps. From there, it's 2 MSTs to just helps with your destruction. 2 instant fusions to help create more tribute fodder. We would play 3, but there's not so much room. It's fine at 2. Then 2 Book of Lives for extra recursion with zombies specifically, and of course it does help that you can banish something from your opponent's graveyard, but it does require you to be able to banish something from your opponent's graveyard, so that's one reason it's not really at 3, and that we do use Soul Charge and other things. And then lastly, 3 Vampire Kingdom. It's a field spell, and during the damage step only, all of your zombie monsters gain 500 attack during the damage step, so it helps with like getting over things like Ragna Zero. Actually, Powerbat and I were playing today, and I brought out Ragna Zero, not knowing this exact effect. I thought it was just a permanent gain, but it turns out it's only during the damage step, so that's even better. Like I said, helps get over Ragna Zero in that you can summon something and be able to attack over it, because Ragna Zero can't really activate during the damage step, and then you can just attack over it, and beautiful. It also has the effect that when a card is sent from your opponent's deck to the graveyard, you can also send 1 dark zombie vampire monster from your deck to the graveyard. That's why you kind of need to play quite a few zombies, but it does help because, like I said, you do play a lot of recursion to bring them back and be able to do some neat stuff with them. And then after you send that zombie to the graveyard from your deck to the graveyard, you can destroy 1 card your opponent controls. So like I said, destruction effects, you do play them, so that 1 Book of Moon does come in handy. It came in handy when he was playing against me, because I was playing Key Beetle Lock, and one of my Key Beetles was protected, and then he Book of Mooned it, and then popped it with this. And actually, I just realized that this even works with Goblin Zombie. I think I said that it sends from the hand to the graveyard, but I meant deck. So anyway, this has been it for the spells. Lastly, for the traps, is just basic stuff. Solemn Warning, Bottomless, Compulse, Vanities, and Ring of Destruction. I always have trouble fitting all 5 of these. These are all just some great removal. You can get into some good positions and then just have Vanities. I mean, you do kind of end up having to send stuff from your deck to the graveyard in order to get some good effects off. But if you can get in a good position and at least stall your opponent for 1 turn, it does help. And then after that is just 2 Fiendish Chains to stop attacks and effects. And then lastly is just 2 of the Vampire Takeover. Now what this does, if you have no card in your field spell, then you can activate this, and if you control at least 1 zombie and everything you control is a zombie, you can activate 1 Vampire Kingdom directly from your deck, and then special summon 1 Dark Vampire from your graveyard. So you can only activate once per turn, of course, but it's just a great effect. You can search this out with Sorcerer, but it is a bit slower, being that it's a trap. But if you absolutely have to, you can. If you draw this, it's even better because it kind of beats Terraforming, because it brings us straight from the deck. It's a trap, so it adds that surprise factor, and you get you net a special summon from it. It's fine at 2 for now. And anyway, that's all for traps. Now onto the extra deck. It's just 2 Nodin, and then 1 Reaper of Nightmare. Now, even though we're playing 2 instant fusions but 3 targets, it's more situational. So you see, Reaper of Nightmare, its purpose is that it's level 5 Dark Zombie, so it helps with being able to bring out Bram, but Norden just helps a lot with getting more tribute fodder, and of course you can go ahead and make an Xyz monster with this should you need to. But like I said, it's all situational. 2 instant fusions works just fine. Just always summoning what you need to. More than likely you're not going to need 2 Reapers in a game, but sometimes you might just need 2 Nordens, so that's why the 2 Nordens are here. Of course you can cut it down to 1 and 1, or just 2 of one, either one, but now that Norden's here, we're taking advantage of it. Now for Xyz monsters, just your basic stuff. Diamond Crab King is good beater, Cowboy for game sometimes, Abyss Dweller for stunning, Excitonite for excitoning, the 360 no scope to spin stuff. Heartland Draco is good because you actually do play a face-up spell card in Vampire Kingdom, so he does get that good effect. 1 Ragnar 0 to disrupt your opponent's stuff, 1 Key Beetle, 1 Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. Again, since this is our combined decks, the 101 is KIA, but all of these are just rank 4s that you can play should you need to. Really, you'll be going into maybe some rank 5s, if at all. But I mean, like, all these really good and kind of competitive rank 4s are just there to be great. A lot of the times, most of your power will come from, like, these. There's one of the Adrius, Keeper of Armageddon, just because he's a dark, and your vampires can only be used to Xyz summon dark stuff. So it's mostly going to be him or the Bram. You could bring up Bram to like 2 maybe even try to Pilgrim Reaper. I know Pyrobat does that, but mostly it's going to be Bram because Bram has just got a great effect. Stay. You can detach 1 Xyz material to special summon 1 monster from your opponent's graveyard, so it's basically Monster Reborn, but it does have to be in defense position, I believe. And but it does help because it's just some great power, and then he is a good 2,500 beater, and he goes up to 3,000 with Kingdom, and he does have a great effect that when he's destroyed, the next standby phase, he comes back in defense position with no Xyz materials, but at least he's in defense position, and you have maybe some extra defense, or if you can hold off your own defense, switch him back to attack, and just get some good things going on. Anyway, that's all for the extra deck. Again, it's kind of mostly just whatever, up to you. Mostly what works is pretty much just the Bram, and then whatever useful rank 4s you have, and then, like I said, the fusion dudes for tribute fodder. Anyway, that's all for the extra deck. Anyway, that has been it for this Spooktober vampire deck profile. I'm not exactly the vampire master myself. That honor goes to my good friend Pyrobat, so big shout out to him for letting me borrow this deck and profile it and talk about it for Spooktober. Of course, he's probably going to watch this and then say, you got everything wrong. But of course, let me know. Give us some suggestions. So basically, just give Pyrobat some suggestions of other things that he could do. Give me some suggestions because I like this deck, and I might try to build it as well or try it out on DN. I did get some decent test games with this. This is a decent build, but of course it's coming from me with him, and it's alright. I think this is a pretty solid build. Don't take this as law or anything. Go ahead and try out whatever you want. I do think Vamp, I personally kind of think maybe Vamp needs to be brought up to maybe 2 copies, maybe, but whatever. And of course you'll notice a bunch of edits in this video because I got so many effects wrong at first, but I'm getting the hang of it. And like I said, I really do want to try this deck out because it's really fun, and it is a good deck too. We're pretty competitively viable. Not so much now as it used to be, but it's still a very good solid deck, and especially with having Mizuki back to 3 and Plague Spreader, if you want to try that out and go with a better synchro build and utilize what's-his-face Beals and whatnot. Anyway, this has been King of Feral Imps. Have a nice day.